Hi friends, my name is Belle. I'm a pro bettor, sports analyst, and the founder of Belle's Picks. If you're here, you probably found me on Patreon, YouTube, Reddit, Instagram, or through my own Discord server. And chances are you've bet on sports before, or you're curious if it's something you can do to actually make money. And the short answer is yes, you can. If you treat it like a side hustle and not like a casino trip. I've been betting for years, and today it's my full-time job. But I didn't start that way. It started as a tiny side hustle, a way to test out my knowledge, build something of my own, and create a stream of income that wasn't tied to a traditional job. And while I'll always say this, sports betting is not easy. It is possible to make it a profitable, sustainable part of your income. This video is for anyone who wants to take their betting more seriously. Whether you're trying to grow your savings, fund a vacation, or just cover a couple extra bills every month, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to treat sports betting like the side hustle it can be. Now, if I had to pick an official first step, it'd be shifting your mindset to this. Betting does not equal gambling. That's the mindset shift you have to make. People hear the word betting and immediately think of slot machines or roulette wheels, but sports betting is completely different. You're not playing against the house in a rigged system. You're analyzing data, finding value, and making decisions based on research. When I place a bet, it's not a shot in the dark. It's based on line movement, injury reports, matchups, patterns, weather, public betting trends, the list goes on, and most importantly, value. And when you start approaching your bets the same way, they stop being random risks and start becoming part of a system. I always say, treat your bankroll like inventory. If you run a business and just start blowing through inventory without tracking what's selling or what isn't, you'll fail. Same with betting. If you're betting emotionally, chasing losses, or banking on 10-leg parlays every weekend, that's gambling. But if you're approaching it with structure and strategy, that's a side hustle. So before we dive into numbers or sports or picks, I want you to shift how you see this. Don't ask, how much can I win this week? Start asking, what system can I build that makes me money over time? That mindset is everything. All right, let's talk bankroll, aka your betting budget. Rule number 1, start only with what you're comfortable losing. This is one of the most important parts of making betting a side hustle instead of a financial disaster. You have to start with money you're comfortable losing. Not because you're going to lose it, but because no matter how good you are, losses will happen. That's just part of the game. If your rent money is in your betting account, you're not running a side hustle, you're gambling under pressure. And pressure clouds judgment. My recommendation? Start small. Like really small. Even $100 is enough to start learning and building habits. I've had people in my community take a $100 starting bankroll and grow it steadily over time. Not because they were betting huge, but because they were betting smart. Once you've decided on your starting amount, you need to break it down into units. Think of the unit as your base bet, the amount you're willing to stake on a single play. Let's say you're starting with $200. A 1-unit bet might be $5 or $10. That way one bad day doesn't wipe out your entire stack. You can ride out cold streaks, reassess, and stay in the game. The people who blow through their bankroll in one night, they're usually people betting 50 to 100% of their entire bankroll all in one go. That's not strategy, that's panic. Bankroll management is the most boring but most important part of betting as a side hustle. And the cool thing is, it becomes second nature. The more disciplined you are in the beginning, the more confident and consistent you'll be later on. Which brings me to my next point. Don't obsess over daily profits. Here's another mistake I see a lot. Trying to win $100 a day or some fixed number. I get the instinct. We all love predictability. But betting doesn't work like a shift job. Some days you'll be up $300, other days you'll be down $150, and that's okay. The real goal isn't necessarily daily profit, it's long-term profitability. That means staying consistent with your bet sizes, tracking your wins and losses, and letting the results compound over time. So to recap, start with a bankroll you're comfortable losing, set a realistic unit size, don't go chasing daily wins or losses. Treat this like a slow build, a marathon, not a sprint. Because if you're serious about turning betting into a side hustle, discipline is where the money lives, friends. My next piece of advice, don't bet everything. Bet what you know. This part is so underrated. When you're starting to treat sports betting like a side hustle, one of the smartest things you can do is focus. You don't need to bet every game on the board. You don't need to know everything about every team. In fact, the more focused you are, the better your edge becomes. I call this picking your lane. It means finding a sport, a type of bet, or even just one or two teams you know really well, and digging into those. For example, maybe you're great at reading totals in baseball. Or maybe you know an NBA team inside and out because you watch them every night. Or maybe you're obsessed with player props. That's your thing. Lean into that. That becomes your niche. Look, here's the truth. Books set lines based on millions of variables, and the sharper you are in one specific area, the easier it is to find value. When I first got serious about betting, I wasn't trying to master everything. I started by zoning in on specific sports, teams, and styles of play, and I'd pass on games I wasn't confident in. That was a huge shift from betting for fun to betting with purpose. The minute you stop betting just because something is on, and instead wait for the right plays, that's when you start getting the results you want. Now friends, if you take nothing else away from this video, hold on to this piece of information. The power of the pass is in itself a power move. This is something people forget. You're allowed to pass. Sitting out a game is just as strategic as betting on it. If you don't see value, or if a game feels off, or if the injury report is a mess, you can walk away. That's not weakness, that's a power move. Your job isn't to bet everything, your job is to bet smarter than the public. And that starts with only playing spots you have an edge in. So pick your lane, know your edge, and when you're not sure, sit it out. That's how you stop being a gambler and start becoming a strategist. Another cornerstone of doing this for a living, side hustle equals structure. Okay, this one right here is where most people fall off. Even if you've got talent, even if you're hitting bets, the difference between a casual bettor and someone treating this like a real side hustle? Tracking everything. You can't grow what you don't measure. If you want this to feel like a side hustle and actually profit like one, then you need to treat it like a business. That means knowing your numbers just like you would with sales or inventory or expenses. Here's what I recommend tracking right out of the gate. Your total bankroll, every single bet you make, sport, type of bet, odds, wager size, result, net profit loss, unit size, and return on investment over time. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can use a simple spreadsheet or even just a notes app at the beginning. But the act of writing it down gives you awareness, and awareness leads to smarter decisions. When you look back and realize you're losing on a specific type of bet, say NBA unders or same game parlays, you can adjust. And when you realize you're crushing a certain market, you can lean into it harder. You'd be shocked by how many people think they're about even or probably up. When they actually track, they're down 20% over time. Don't let vibes trick you. Let data guide you. Speaking of not letting the vibes trick you, betting when you're emotional. Don't do that. It always equates to mistakes. Here's what happens when you bet emotionally. You chase losses, you force bets on a weak board, you bet because you're bored or frustrated, you try to make it back instead of sticking to the plan. And listen, I've been there. Early on, I made every mistake you could imagine. I bet revenge games, I bet on teams I wanted to win instead of teams that I actually believed would win. I've chased my losses on random games. It's a terrible rabbit hole to fall down. Now, I don't let emotions make decisions for me. Wins don't get me reckless, losses don't make me spiral. I stick to my unit size, follow my process, and if the day is cold, I walk away. Here's the truth. If you're going to do this long term, you have to create a little emotional distance from the outcome. Yes, wins are fun. Losses are frustrating. But the second you start seeing every bet as a personal victory or failure, it'll mess with your judgment. Instead, think like a business owner. You're placing investments, not rolling dice. Some will pay off, some won't. Your job is to keep making smart, consistent decisions that lead to long-term profits. In short, get your emotions out of the driver's seat. Consistency beats excitement, structure beats vibes, and mindset, it beats everything. If you can stay calm, keep your bets disciplined, and trust your process, you're already ahead of 90% of people trying to do this. And, fun fact, you don't have to do it alone. One of the biggest mistakes I think I see people make when trying to turn betting into a side hustle is doing it in isolation. In fact, it's a mistake people make that they don't even realize they're making. It seems so small, but trust me, when you have no one to bounce ideas off of, no one to vent to after a rough loss, and no one to celebrate a win with, it gets discouraging really fast. That's why community matters. It keeps you sharp, it keeps you grounded, and on the hard days, it reminds you that you're not the only one navigating the ups and downs of this game. I'm not talking about random betting groups where everyone's yelling, "Lock of the day!" every 5 minutes. I mean being in a digital space or a real space where people are actually trying to be and bet smart. People who care about long-term profit, strategy, and structure. Honestly, it's the whole reason I created Belle's Picks. It's not just about picks, it's about giving people access to research-backed plays, a positive community, and insights you can actually learn from. Whether you're betting for fun or trying to build something sustainable, it's a space where you're supported. Inside the community, I post my full card, player props, parlays, live bets, bankroll updates, and we talk about the why, not just the what. There's a ton of interaction in the Discord, and genuinely, some of the smartest and kindest bettors I've ever met. So if you're sitting on the sidelines right now, curious about what it could look like to take this more seriously, feel free to join us. You can check out all the tiers and perks at bellspicks.com, or just come hang out in the Discord community where everything gets started. You don't need to do this alone, and honestly, it's way more fun when we're winning together. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, to make sports betting a side hustle, you don't need a massive bankroll. You don't need to bet every day. You don't even need to get it perfect. You just need structure, discipline, a process, and a space to grow. Well, friends, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching, and if this helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, or drop a comment. I'd love to hear where you're at in your journey. Until next time, bet smart and stay sharp.